Hi Kayleigh, this is John Wild. I've had a first early look at your Elfa wardrobe. I'm sorry this has taken me a while. I think I start all my videos with that comment. So let's just look at what we've got. I don't normally use the Elfa planning tool, but I had some questions about your room and I didn't have any photos, so I didn't want to invest too much time in this at this stage. This is really just to give you a rough idea and to establish a sort of a middle price point. What changes the price is these expensive items like the shoe racks, the baskets, and this divided basket shelf is quite expensive as well. So if you restricted yourself to non-moving, non-gliding parts like simple flat shelves, hanging rails, the very basic structure, you would be able to reduce the cost quite considerably. The more of these gliding components you put in, the more the cost will go up. But I will tell you more about that in an email. So what have I done here first of all? Super interested to read that you'd used GPT for your first sketch. It's really interesting. Not particularly competent piece of wardrobe design, but interesting. I've tried to copy it roughly, but I think it would be good to have a lot more of your sort of personal input on what's needed and what's not needed. So let's start on the left. That's probably going to be shirts and things like that. My main question about the space is 2.1 for a ceiling height is very, very low. Are you sure that's correct? So this is going to end up being about a metre hanging drop under that shelf with that closet rod there. These are all 600 wide bays, and then we go to some baskets, some more hanging, some much longer hanging with a little shelf underneath. That shelf may or may not be necessary. It might be more useful to have an additional shelf here with a slightly lower hanging rail. In the middle I've shown, and again these can be anywhere, they're all standard 600 bays. I've shown shoe racks. Now the Elfa rack for heeled shoes holds 9 pairs of shoes. The Elfa shoe rack for flat shoes holds 6 pairs of shoes. If you're a man with largish feet, it's only going to be about 5 pairs of shoes. The wire rack needs a defined heel, so you know, stilettos are perfect. Kitten heels probably not so much, and I can't think what they call the sandals where you've got like a solid wedge heel. They don't work either. All of those would need to go in the rack, the mesh rack for flat shoes. So trainers, flat shoes, ballet pumps, things like that, they're all going to go in here. Carrying along, I've put 2 hanging drops next, just to show that these can be put one above the other. And then I've got some more baskets. I've only put one of these smaller baskets in, the rest are medium, and they're all mesh. I think the mesh is slightly prettier if you're going to have your wardrobe open and on display. The wire is slightly more utilitarian, but it's also slightly harder wearing. I haven't shown any of the very deep baskets, unless you have a lot of very bulky woolens. I would say limit yourself to the mediums. And again, the small is very small, so really think how you would use that. Another place to store small items is what Elfa call, I'm just going to try and wiggle this around, I'm looking in this area here, but I'm just going to rotate it here. This is a basket shelf where it's a flat wire shelf with a sort of 100mm upstand on that front edge, and this can be closed off at the ends with this translucent divider, and that additional dividers can be used along the length of it to subdivide that space. It's great for sportswear, underwear, smaller items that just need sort of containing in a reasonably organised way. So that is really what you can expect from the, sorry I'm jumping about here, from the length you've given me there. Ignore those. The price this is going to spit out, which I'll show you sort of verbatim, I know it's going to be high because there's lots of things I know I can do, like sharing that up right. There's going to be lots of covers and brackets that the software hasn't shared and it should have shared, and I will give you an estimate of what this should have cost. I will also estimate what this would cost with less gliding items in it and perhaps double the number of gliding items in it. If we find we're on the same page with price, I can switch to my normal modelling method. Have I got anything open at the moment? No, I haven't. And we can go into much greater detail. I'd like to know the size and position of this window and any sockets and plugs, light switches, things like that. So better measurements and lots of photos of the space if you wish to progress this. Okay, I'm going to look at the price now and send that over to you. Thanks for listening.